This is 1A part 2, where you are going to create the relationships between the tables. Now you may recall when we looked at some of this data, like the booking table, there were what we called foreign keys that pointed to data in another table. So in this booking ID number 1, it links to church ID number 3. Or to find that church, I now have to open the church table and look up number 3 manually, and now I can find that that is this church here, New Life Church. Now we want the database to understand that those are the links between the tables. So we're going to create what are called relationships. So if we go to our database tools at the top, we can now select relationships. And we'll need to show each of the 5 tables. Now you may not need to click on show table because it may automatically come up with the tables for you, but if it doesn't, click on show table and then add each of these tables, one at a time. Now we just want to be able to make sure we can view all the fields in there because we need to know where our foreign keys are, and we can work through these one at a time. For example, we know that there is going to be a relationship between a church and a camper. See, the camper has a church ID, and that church ID is a foreign key that links to the primary key in the church table. And all we have to do is drag the field onto the primary key, and it links the two together. We're then going to do what we call enforce referential integrity. Now what this means is that a church ID has to exist for it to be entered into the camper. So if you've got 5 churches, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and you try and enter church ID 3 in the camper table, that's acceptable because it exists. But if you try to enter church ID 7, well, we only had 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 5, so referential integrity will stop that from happening. Now it might be that if you've tried adding records in your table since you imported the data, you might get an error saying that the existing data violates referential integrity rules. If that's the case, you need to make sure that the data is exactly what it was when you started this task. Don't add any extra records at this stage. So we'll have a look at something else. A church has a booking. We can see that because we've got church ID in the booking table. So again, we drag the foreign key onto the primary key and enforce referential integrity. Now another error you might get might be that the table is already open. That might be because up here where we've got relationships, you might also have one of those tables, the booking table or the church table, open. If it's open, you cannot create the relationship. So you'd have to cancel, close that table and then create the relationship again. And then we've got our booking links to our pitch allocations. Our pitch allocations have booking ID as a foreign key, so we'll create that relationship and enforce referential integrity. Another error you might get here is that there's a data type mismatch. The data types for both the foreign key and the primary key have to match. So if this is a long integer, this must also be a long integer. If this is text, then this must also be text. If this is an auto number, which you probably won't have set them up as auto numbers because the numbers have already been given to you, but if it was an auto number, you can have a long integer in the foreign key and that will link to an auto number. And finally, we've got our pitch type. So if we link our pitch type ID here to our pitch type, that means that each pitch allocation will know what the pitch type is and will enforce the referential integrity. And we've now got the basic structure of our database set up. Now what I would do if I was you is I would save this as task 1A and then save it again as task 1B and work on the task 1B file, knowing that if you make any mistakes, you can quite easily get back to this basic state where you had all 5 tables imported with the basic data and the relationship set up, and you can continue from there rather than having to start a whole task all over again.